true success is so much more than what we own. It's the impact we make on the world. So if you know what success means to you, your actions become purposeful and intentional, knowing they're all aligned with who you are and what matters to you. While you may be able to drive success down to one sentence, it's usually backed up by your focus in all these areas of your life. But I'm not going to do this episode alone.
I didn't have much behaviour modelled to me about how to meet my needs.
And you do get paid back, and you do get positivity and karma back.
I'm getting there. I'm starting to take my own advice.
You can find other parts of your personality and nurture those.
We don't stop being the person we are at the front door to the office, it carries through. No job title would ever dictate whether they could make an impact on others. So now I have my language, and I know that it only takes one small impact to change the world. So what's my definition of success? Hey, welcome to the Leaders Podcast with me, Laura MacDonald, the leadership coach and mentor. Come with me as I explore the elements of leadership that give leaders like you the power and confidence to make the impact you know you can. I'll be sharing my own experiences, top tips and insights, and talking to some very special guests to share their thoughts and leadership experiences on mindset, influence, change and growth. So let's get right to it. I've asked one particular question to a lot of people over the years, including myself. It can be a tough question to answer, and not everyone has considered what the real answer is for them. But knowing it for yourself gives you more connection and influence in your leadership than you'd ever imagine. What does success mean to you? Some people find success where they weren't looking for it, and others have to work really hard to discover it, but a lot of people haven't even considered it. And in this fast-paced and ever-changing world, and with all the influences and influencers around us, defining success for ourselves can be really hard. We all know the more broadcasted definition of success. Lots of money, fast cars, posh house, and so on. And yes, some people in life are able to achieve those things, and that's totally okay. But even high achievers like these will be in the same mindset as the rest of us, that true success is so much more than what we own. It's the impact we make on the world. That sounds like a big goal, right? To impact the whole world. But I do want to clarify with you what that means to me, because it's not as big as it sounds. When you make an impact, you can make it on anyone. You can make it on yourself, your kids, your partner, your wider family, your friends, your colleagues. We all do it every day in every action we take, even to perfect strangers on the street. But make the right impact on just one person, and they will pay it forward. And the ripple effect can be huge. You might just be lucky enough to see that play out, but the truth is most of the time we don't see it. So we just have to keep trying to make that impact. But know that it's there. You might be wondering why I'm talking about this on a leadership podcast. Like, what the hell has this got to do with leading your team? But the short answer is everything. Your definition of success is built on your values, morals, and ethics, all of which allow you to show up as an authentic leader who builds meaningful relationships with others, creates psychologically safe workspaces for all to feel they can speak their mind and have open conversations with others, and make decisions based on principle rather than the bottom line. What you put out there drives your team culture, mission, and ways of working. Your priorities influence the team's priorities. So if you know what success means to you, your actions become purposeful and intentional, knowing they're all aligned with who you are and what matters to you. But I'm not going to do this episode alone because everyone defines success differently. So I'm going to bring back some of the highlights of this podcast so far to help me. I've actually asked this question of some of my guests on the podcast, and others have simply brought it into the conversation, like my first guest, Nicole Winer.
What I found really difficult when I started my business and reflecting back on when I was in corporate, the whole thing around the extroversion bias and how the world is set up for extroverts. So I didn't have much behaviour modelled to me about how to meet my needs, which meant that I was masking consistently with the ADHD in mind as well, but also with, kind of pretending to be an ambivert, which I'm not. I'm an introvert. But because there wasn't enough awareness around it. There wasn't enough education around it. And around what I could see in terms of success and other people was the people who did stay out late and go to the networking stuff, or were the ones going to all of the meetings, all of the socials, having, doing all this extracurricular stuff. Again, if I go back to school, I was not interested in extracurricular activity. I did not care. I'd had enough of people by the end of I didn't need any more people at the end of the day. I didn't know that at the time about myself, though. So as well, for me, in the way that I do that at events, for example, when I'll say, like, I'm just going to step away for a couple of hours, I'll be back. We'll come back at 6 and see you then before dinner, or wherever it is also important for me to model to other people who need that. And I'm not saying that it's because everybody who comes is exactly the same as me. They're not. But it's also why in my marketing, I'll talk a lot about the space that I take and that I create in my day. Because I never had any of that modeled to me. So now that I do that for myself and I've explored that for myself, if I can help like one person from the things that I share to see that, oh, do you know what? That actually sounds like what I need. Or I want to do that. Maybe they don't know how yet, or maybe they're just curious and they're not even sure if it's them. But if I can help to make that perspective shift for people in that, actually, do you know what? That is actually draining me and I didn't even realize. Then I've won, right? That is success to me.
Knowing Nicole as I do, it was no surprise to me that this is her definition of success, but I was less familiar with Chris O'Connell's view on this, who did become that person with the money, the fast cars and everything at his disposal, and now defines success for himself with much more clarity.
I'm not sure enough what I'm saying is I get dozens of messages a day saying your content's amazing, your content's amazing. And I'm now starting to believe it is. But I'd be gobsmacked. The amount of people that I've noticed, that I've now realized that I'm just lurking, that haven't said anything. I now do some outbound stuff where if someone looks at my profile, I send them a message saying, if it's my profile with anything I can help you with, they come and say, I love your content. So what I'm saying is there's loads of people out there that you don't know if you're changing their lives or what you're doing. They wouldn't necessarily tell you. I think people know if they're kidding themselves. People know if they're disingenuous to themselves or other people. People reveal themselves as well. So it goes back to that sort of contract you have with yourself. If you're putting in the work, you're being good to yourself, you're being kind, you do all the right things. I mean, that's happiness, that's success. And you do get paid back, and you do get positivity and karma back. Sometimes life can be difficult, but I just think success is about how you make other people feel, and then all the other stuff comes along the way. I feel proud of who I am, which is, I've achieved probably more than a lot of people, let's be honest. I get good. They're quite emotional about the man I am today versus the man I was. It's part of my story, but I tell it because I think it's a way to build empathy. It's a way to encourage others to do the same. And it's a way to just be me, to be open, to be real, to be vulnerable. I think if I didn't talk about it and keep it in, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today. I'd probably be quite insular, quite kind of one-dimensional. I'd probably lack soft skills like empathy, compassion, understanding. I think in this day and age, people sometimes deem it as, oh, the guy and his story. No one cares about your story, bro, and all this kind of stuff. But it's a difficult one because I don't want my story to be just that. My story's evolving.
I have asked a few people outright what their definition of success is, and Zoe Plumley was one of them, and what she told me was, to use her words, a warm, fuzzy Welsh cwtch feeling.
My definition of success is happiness and contentment. It is knowing that, my bills are paid, there's food on the table, and I can spend time with my family, and that actually the world is a better place because of things that I've done or my team have done. Success is something that is measurable to me from a personal level. It is not from a monetary level. ask any of my team, I am the first person to go, right, this person needs help. They can't afford it. I'll pay for it. I am the first person to do that. As a business owner, don't do that. But from an ethical, moral point of view, if someone needs help, I will always go above and beyond to help them. So money isn't important to me. It's very much a case of knowing that I can grow up. My kids can grow up, and I can see them smile, and I can give them the experiences, and I can spend time with them, and just know that actually I can do things that don't limit my health either, that I don't have to work stupid amount of hours. I don't put myself into burnout. Yes, at the moment, do I still do that? Yes, because I'm stubborn and because I'm so passionate that I still want to try and help as many people as I can. But I'm learning, I'm getting there, I'm starting to take my own advice. But yeah, success is very much a case of just living the life that I would like to live with my family and not having to worry, not having to stress, and just go, do you know what? It may be running outside, but inside it's sunny and it's happy.
As I said earlier, true success is the impact we want to make on the world. So when I asked Alice Deering what lasting impact she hoped she would make on the world, she opted for what she hopes will be her simple influence on others.
So I suppose aside from swimming, like specific swimming thing, I just want people to know that they are capable of trying new things and growing and evolving themselves. Just because you have been told you are X doesn't mean you can't do Y or Z, if that makes sense. Like, you can find other parts of your personality and nurture those. You can try new things, you can fail, and failure is fine. We've all got to fail. That's the only way you can grow and succeed and become better at whatever that thing may be. So I'd like my lasting impact to be people trusting that they can try something new and give it a go.
Every one of these guests had a very different view on success, with the focus shifting from their own family to their team to the wider population to sometimes just one person. And sometimes that person is unknown to you, or it's in fact yourself. Success won't be confined to one area of your life either. There'll be measurements of success you have for your personal life, for your professional life, your general well-being, impact and influence on others, and so on. So while you may be able to drive success down to one sentence, it's usually backed up by your focus in all these areas of your life. We don't stop being the person we are at the front door to the office, it carries through. So the more you develop your self-awareness around what success means to you, the more it will show up everywhere in your life, and you will become more and more authentic every day. And let's bust a myth here, because authentic doesn't mean showing your whole self every day, right? You don't have to divulge your whole life to your entire team. We all have our boundaries and they all look different. Being authentic means every part of yourself that you do show to anyone, not just your team, is the genuine, real you. If you're currently putting up some walls, please know you're not alone in that. And we all do it from time to time. I've certainly been down that road. It takes real work to bring those walls down and find boundaries that make you comfortable with being authentic in your work and your team. But when you do finally bring those walls down, your team will feel that, and they'll start to do the same for themselves. Everybody will start having open conversations with each other. People will feel confident to bring ideas to the table. They'll tell you when something's wrong. They'll share successes with each other and with you. And because you're being transparent about your mission and purpose and values, they'll start doing it too, so you can find alignment. Meaning collaboration and that genuine team bond and connection really starts coming together. Everyone will feel comfortable being in that team. To use Chris's words, imagine if everyone was themselves. It'd be an amazing world. So what about my own discovery of success? Well, the hardest part for me was finding the words. Joanna Rawbone used the phrase emotionally illiterate in her episode on introversion, and I think I would convert that to purpose illiterate when it came to discovering my definition of success. I was very clear with myself when something felt right or wrong, but I just couldn't put it into words. But here's what I did know. I've spent my own leadership career trying to support the whole person rather than just the job title. I believe in giving everyone something they can walk away with. And when you work in an industry with as high a staff turnover as hospitality, trust me when I say that matters. No one saw that job as their long-term career. And most of us that stayed there actually ended up there by some sort of happy accident. We just kind of fell into our roles and then stayed there for 10 years. But most of our teams didn't stay with us long. At best, you're probably talking a year or two, so I wanted them to get the most out of their time with us and take something away that they could use elsewhere in their life, not just their career. Pressures continued to mount every day though, and there was less and less time over the years for me to talk to my staff, let alone support them. The worst part was it eventually became an every man for themselves culture, and numbers-focused managers were wanted far more than people-centred leaders ever would be. When I went into the education sector, it was the same concept. Yes, I was supporting people to achieve qualifications, but unless they got more out of it than a piece of paper, for me, it would be a complete waste of their time and mine. I wanted them to find out who they were as leaders. I wanted to coach and support the whole person, not just the job title. I wanted them to know I had their back, that failure was completely acceptable, that all they could do was try, and I'd be there to support them with reflections and solutions. I wanted every learner I had to know they could and should be their whole selves, and that no job title would ever dictate whether they could make an impact on others. But again, pressures for targets and so on built, and although redundancy happened and there was nothing I could do about that, no one should ever blame themselves for losing their job through redundancy. I have a feeling that if I'd stayed, it actually wouldn't have been that long before I realised I couldn't carry on this way anymore. People had to come first for me. Then, in early 2020, I watched a TED Talk by Valerie Condas-Field entitled "Winning Doesn't Always Equal Success," where she highlighted very eloquently that she emphatically knows that it is absolutely possible to produce and train champions in life in every single walk of life without compromising the human spirit. That talk touched a real nerve for me, because in a single moment, someone else had managed to sum up what I believed all along but could never put into words. But the world around me had taught me business targets and sales and being more productive with less and less resources was the very definition of success, that making more money to buy more stuff was more important than the recognition of the human being. And I was, in fact, in a minority. No one would ever care about what I cared about. And I'd personally experienced the receiving end of that system, where people at the centre of everything and the impact they experienced of numbers being the first and only thing on the list was unacknowledged and unimportant. And as Valerie had once again managed to pinpoint so precisely, that system had produced what I later discovered to be a broken human being in me. A few months later, I opened my business, and then now I'm doing all of this my way, which is wonderful. Of course, I have targets. Of course, I need to be productive as a business owner. Of course, I have goals and objectives I'm working to. But here is what I promised myself when I opened my business. If any of that, at any point ever, threatens in any way to contribute towards broken human beings, I can promise you it won't be featuring here. And I am not prepared to just support the job title. I support the whole person. I recognise the human being sat in front of me with real feelings, thoughts, perspectives, and a whole life of which work is only a small part, just as I've always done. But now I do it with the freedom from other people's pressures and the purpose literacy I've come to gain. I run my business with people and the recognition of our humanity at the absolute centre of everything I do. So now I have my language. I'm crystal clear on my values, my morals and ethics, and I've come to all the conclusions that I know are right for me. And I know that it only takes one small impact to change the world. So what's my definition of success? Influencing just one leader to put the human being first. Until next time, everyone.